Well, regular Insight viewers recognize her right away as a valuable resource in planning and sustaining your retirement. She's Heather Foster, investment advisor and fiduciary. Today, we want to talk about preparing now for the upcoming election. It'll be here before we know it. I feel like we talk about it all the time already.
Yeah, so I think that, with the whole pandemic and everything that happened in March with the markets going down, I want to talk about this early because we saw people kind of panic during the pandemic when the markets went down, and what you don't want to do is panic and sell during a downward market. Sure. So we've had a lot of recovery in the markets here recently, and if you're somebody that panicked, one, if you sold or you were thinking about selling, you're not sure if you're allocated the right way, I think that you need to get ahead of this election, several months ahead, like July and August. You need to be talking to somebody about whether or not you're positioned correctly because, again, since we've gotten a lot of that gain back, and in fact, most people should be ahead of where they were a year ago. The markets are ahead from a one-year return perspective. Okay. We are back where we were a year ago. So even though we're not back maybe quite to the high point that we were in February, we're back. So if you are back, again, you got to look at things from a long-term perspective. If you are somebody that was thinking about selling during that downturn, you were concerned, calling your advisor, or you don't think you're allocated correctly, you've just got to get ahead of this because we're pretty certain that there's going to be some volatility going on.
Absolutely.
We're not just dealing with the pandemic at this point. We're also dealing with obviously protesting and things like that going on in our economy, and then now we add an election to that as well. We're still getting the numbers back right now on what the pandemic has done, the unemployment rates, things like that, and how that's affecting the markets. So given the fact that we've come back so far, you need to sit down with your advisor ahead of time. I know there's different products out there and they can be kind of complicated, but you can go into buffered funds. That's something that we did to get defensive, going into a buffered exchange traded fund where you can kind of buffer out some of the downside if the markets do go down again, but they cap you on your upside, so you have to understand the products. But things like that can help position people to still stay in equities to continue to ride this market back up while giving them some downside protection. So things like that might be a good example of something that someone could potentially go into. Not for everybody, but it might be a good fit for some. Or again, if you know that you don't have 3 to 5 years worth of your income needs already set to the side, if you do not have that already put in place, you might want to consider doing that before we head into the election cycle because depending on who gets elected and the outcome of that, we might see some shifting markets. So I always tell people 3 to 5 years worth of income needs need to be set aside into something more conservative so that you don't have to worry when we have a 30% drop because you don't have to sell to fund your income needs. So that's number one. Number two, if you were already somebody that was panicking, get your reallocations done well ahead of this next election, several months, because when people start to get nervous about elections, September, October, we start to see the market deviations happening. So you want to be ahead of that, looking really honestly July, August as the potential months of doing a rebalance on a portfolio. So my big thing is don't let emotion, don't let the media.
Always, don't let emotion.
Don't let emotion, don't let the media get in your head about what you should or shouldn't be doing or what might or might not happen. Plan first. You got to lay out the plan of action, and then you've got to stick with the plan. The people that lose the most are the people that let emotion take over. They sell during down markets, and then they want to buy back in when the markets are already going up. And so they basically sold high, and they're buying. They buy low and sell high. So you want to make sure that you're ahead of that, and that's what I wanted to talk about today because it's just so important that we don't wait till we're already in the crux of it, that the markets are already going down before you start to make those moves.
And I think that because this year has been so topsy-turvy, people are out of their normal cycle of doing things, and so you don't realize how quickly the election will be here and how quickly we'll be in that September-October time frame. It's already virtually July. We're basically in July, and so really now's the time to be doing that.
You need to look at this now. Don't wait. And if you need to, financial planners, we're busy right now. We've got tax season that got pushed out to July 15th. So we're busy. So if you're going to get in or want to look at a reallocation, you need to call your advisor and get in with them now so that you guys can get the trading done and be positioned correctly well ahead of that new market cycle and the elections.
Now's the time to do it. If you need help doing that, give Heather Foster a call today, 234-2200. You can also check them out online, fosterfinancial.net. We'll be right back.